Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo, solo, live. Yes, I'm alive, I'm healthy. It's, oh God, I even forgot the name of the title of the show, but whatever the title of the show is the title of the show. It has something to do with COVID-19. Oh, don't lick that pole. I think that's maybe the title. That's what I wrote down. I don't think I did. My partner, I got my number too. I'm going to be calling later on. We're going to be having Jen Friel on the show, doing a Skype interview with a local young lady. I don't even know if she's down here anymore, but I will call her. She's a sweetheart. The right now, I mean, I'm sure by the time, we are listening to it live, there are shortages of toilet paper, Purell. People are starting to change their habits on how they greet each other. We got the foot kicking. We have the fist bumping, which has been around for a while, elbow, all sorts of things. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've seen people licking each other's faces when they come in sometimes. So it's not all that far out. So I'm here, and I'm in the forefront of it with the service industry. You know, some of these people may dispute, but there seems to be a discernible slowdown, considering what we expect in this time of year. But we don't have the volume they did before, but we're doing all right. We are the Keys, and there could be some kind of counterbalance with us, the Keys being domestic and people being afraid to go into places like Italy, Europe, places they're not sure of. They may want to stay close to home. You know, it is spring break coming up and your kids are out of school and stuff like that. You may want to, maybe you were planning to go someplace, and I think the airlines, which I really don't understand why CEOs of a company would suggest that the whole industry would lose $100 billion, and that was a statement made, I think, last week by several CEOs of domestic carriers, that they would lose $100 billion, which is self-defeating. I mean, it feeds into the hysteria of it, and I think maybe me just talking about it may feed into the hysteria. And I mentioned before that if there was a book back in the 90s called Freakonomics, and just shows people's obsession with things they're not comfortable with, things that haven't been around. Back in 2018 it was Ebola, and before that we had H1N1, bird flu, all those things. But yes, and they point out there's flu. People die of flu every year. They die of the common cold. They die of obesity and things like that. But when something new comes along, when they don't know what to do about it, don't know how to treat it, don't know how it's transmitted, and things like that, people have a fear of that. Imagine, I mean, we always have these apocalyptic movies. I mean, a while ago, it's still going on, the zombie craze, that every fucking other show on television was a fucking zombie show. Imagine, though, one out of 10 million deaths, someone wouldn't die and then come back and start eating brains. That would be some crazy shit. But I don't think we have to worry about that necessarily. But when it comes to something, they don't know about the virulence or the mortality rate. And in China, they seem to have gotten a handle of, but China's a different kind of country. They have more draconian, strict shutdowns. I did put in the description that I'm self-quarantining myself, but I meant that I'm self-quarantining myself from the hysteria. I mean, it's hard for people to do the dual ideas in their head that there's a new virus, the coronavirus, around, and to enhance their precautions without getting hysterical about it. Yes, people with compromised immune systems, upper respiratory problems, older people, and things like that have a higher incidence of contracting a more serious kind and end up having in certain populations, there's a much higher mortality rate, where some guy on television was suggesting it was upwards of 15% in the most at-risk communities, and that community would be seniors, people in their 70s and up, and how it ravaged the whole in Washington State, a retirement home where out of 120, let's say 11 died, and with people speculating what the mortality rate is, they don't know the testing unless you tested everyone that carried and let's do the math. If you tested everyone that came down with it, and if you don't show the symptoms, you might not go and get tested. And considering there was numbers thrown around that the test as of early this week or last week in some places the test cost $3,200, so that's very prohibitive. So unless you had everyone tested, and let's say a certain population, take a whole state, and after it's run its course, and let's say there was in the population of Washington State, I'm going to speculate 8 million people, right? It's probably higher, but you tested everyone, and everyone had a coronavirus, and then the deaths that occurred to the people, that would give you the accurate mortality rate. But if everyone isn't tested, then the mortality rate, let's say 1 million people caught it and only 1,000 died, so that means that it would only be a 0.1%, 1 out of 1,000, or 0.05%, 1 out of 2,000. So you really don't get an accurate mortality rate unless you have the accurate of how many total people were contracted it. And this is me, not a scientist, but I do know numbers. And people say that all the time. Now it could be higher or less. So people they're worried about the virulence of it, how easily it's caught, how easily it's transmitted. And when some virus is very, let's say, it's like someone suggested it was the angel of death for people in a certain population group, that builds a little hysteria. There could be people that can contract it, can go through all the 2 weeks of being a carrier and never show any symptoms of it. And there's some people that come across and have some mild symptoms in there, and they come out of it, and now the people would come down with a serious upper respiratory condition. And if you're an avid listener, I'm sure you may think that I have always had an upper respiratory condition, but I think I have a long-standing coral dust allergy, and I just always have this down here in the Keys. I was a heavy smoker at one time, though I haven't smoked in years. And I do come up, I'm a fitness instructor, but every year I come down with some kind of respiratory symptoms, and I'm coughing and hacking and stuff like that. Not very sexy. But then you think about the precautions they tell people to do. Years ago, during the Spanish influenza, they used to have spittoons, brass spittoons all over the place. And now you don't see that. I mean, unless it's a collector's item, if you find it on the American Pickers. So during this influenza, they realized that the human bodily fluids were very good transmitters of the Spanish influenza, which actually started in the United States. And they restricted that. They started saying, hey, listen, how about we don't do expectorate, and that's spit, in public. Makes a lot of sense. It's amazing that you have to tell certain people that, but this is what we have to do. Okay, in just a moment, I'm going to be calling up Jen. We're going to try this. This is going to be, it is live. I may get some people saying that, but I did record earlier, and I did see that there was no issue earlier with, I did my test. I'm calling this person. You hear that beeping coming in? That's me. Hey, there we go. Let's see how we work. I'm going to get Jen Friel on here. 488. Here we go. Let's see how it works. She isn't online. I don't want online. I'm just calling a regular number. I'm just going to call regular. Come on. It's a regular phone call. Is that a Skype phone call? Let's see. 305. Let's see. 305 509 2488. I got credit. Here we go. Come on. Let's do this. We're going to call. I guess it didn't process. I bought Skype. So let's see what's going on. Yes. Let's go. Buy credit. Pay now. That's it. I got my credit. We're going to call this number again. Let's do this. 305 oh boy. I know. You guys must think I am nuts, but hey, listen. This is it. There we go. What? It's saying it's not calling. What is going on? Let's call. Jim. 305 509 2488. Okay, let's see what's going on. Hey, it's ringing. Hello? Number unavailable. It says the number unavailable. Let's do a little message here. Jen, is this your cell number? Is this your cell number? Let's see what's going on. 509-2488. It says the number's unavailable right now. Let's see. Hey, are we blocked? Okay. I'm calling you. Let's see. I'm calling you from my Skype. I'm calling you from Skype. Let's go. Let's see if it works. I'm sorry if it doesn't work. Okay. Let's try it again. $509. It's going to work. 92488. 2488. Okay, I got Tony. Okay, let's go. Let's call that number. 305. Do I have to put a 1 in front of it? Let's see, guys. Let's see. 305 509 2488. Let's call. Let's see what happens. Are we in line? Hello? Oh, man. What's this number? 48. Oh, I get it. Okay, I'm calling to your cell. Let's get this. 1. Let's do that. Save phone number. What? United States, come on. United States. I'm sorry, listeners. Yes. Let's get this. This is why the elderly are failing at technology. You know that? Let me go. 1-305-409-2488. Call. Let's see. It's 11. Damn it. Let's see what happens.
Sorry, but the person you called has...
Okay, let's try this one more time. This is what? No, just 305. 305 509 2488. Let's see what happens. There we go. Technology, don't fail me now. Here we are.
Hello.
Hey, Jen, this is Jim. How are you?
Hey, I'm amazing. How
Yeah,
are you?
very good. Hey, you were the one. I don't know if you were the one that originally suggested. No, you originally suggested. This is Jen Friel, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to apologize because I am, once again, I'm kind of inept. I'm using Skype. Skype ties into my podcast broadcast app, and it's able to,
Oh, cool.
yeah, and that's what, and let me hear you talk. Let's see.
Yeah, can you hear me now? This is the test. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
5, 6,
come
7.
on, Skype. You know what? I'm going to call you right back. You son of a gun. I'm going to call you right back. Oh, why did that not come up? Audio. Okay, what's that? There we go. There we go. Jen, I am so sorry. I'm going to call you right back. Okay, call. Let's call. Let's use this number again. Call.
Hey, try it again.
Yeah, you know
Can you
what,
hear me now?
Jen? I every time I get off this my broadcast app, I have to re-up it's called virtual cable, VB cable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason you're not coming in again. I do not know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is it better if I get on Skype?
No, it's not. It's not you. It is not
Yeah.
you. It's my. Let me just bring this up. For some reason, okay, that's on. That's on. I'm gonna put that on audio. Maybe that'll work better. And I got my cable up. Okay, can I hear you? You hear me? Hello? Did I cancel? I am a son of a bitch. Here we go. Hello? Okay, so you're probably still there, and I just probably... What did I do? There was a problem with your microphone. Settings and audio. You're probably still there. I'm going to turn this off and turn it down to Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I do hear you now. For some reason, the audio isn't coming through on the broadcast section here. I have you. I apologize. It is.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh no! Now it is. Now
Okay, great.
That's it. Oh, I was just mentioning to the podcast audience. Whenever it comes to technology, I have the curse of the older American.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so do a lot of people, and even when you're a techie, it still stinks because sometimes, 9 times out of 10, anytime you're doing a video app or some sort of Skype call, it will no doubt cancel on you, or you'll have some sort of technical difficulties. So, it also means you're normal.
Yeah. Well, this is the virtual cable actually, brings your audio into the show, and I'm able to do all this, the manipulation from here. Let me see. We got Jen Friel. Are you in the Key still?
No, I go back and forth. I'm in Los Angeles now, but I'm working very hard to get back to the Keys. I'm actually going to be down for a visit in a couple of months, so I'm excited.
Okay. Well, I'm going to first.
I miss it terribly.
I'm going to talk about how we met first, and then would you be comfortable talking about what you do?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. We met. I was just a new spin instructor at Mariners Hospital, and Jen was one of the participants in it. And we started. I had a couple small side gigs going, and we started talking back and forth about applications, and that was my. I guess I was acquainted with social media and things like that, but you're the one that really got me thinking about applications and things like that. And I had told you about a guy that came up to me and wanted to sell me one for $6,000. He wanted to develop one for me, and it was.
And what did I say to you? What did I say as a response? Like, walk away? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, do not do that.
Yeah, do not. Yeah.
They have free ones. They have free ones out there for very minimum cost that you could develop, and they were so much better.
That's great.
They were so much better than the one they were showing me. It was pretty much like if you were putting a Mercedes-Benz next to a Trabant, one of those East German cars made out of plastic. Pre Berlin Wall coming down. That was the difference. But you had a very interesting, and the more I got to know you, you had, can you tell us a little about yourself? You had a blog, and I remember exactly what it was called. It was called Talk Nerdy to Me.
Yeah, Talk Nerdy to Me Lover. And then actually it was amazing. So I live in Los Angeles. I was in LA for almost 10 years. And then I fell in love. My whole purpose of starting my blog was to find my lover to talk nerdy to me. And so from my perspective, I accomplished my goal. But before that, I crashed the Grammy Awards to meet Pete Cashmore, who's the king of social media. I danced on stage with Prince. I bartered social media to live for a year. So I got to 12 states with $10 to my name before influencer marketing was even a thing. And then what really made the blog popular was my dating. So I accidentally went out on over 103 dates in 9 months using OkCupid, which had a compatibility algorithm. And yeah, I just documented my life and adventures and wound up in the Keys and kind of ghosted everything and then became this person instead of a persona. And your spin classes were amazing because, that was part of, my thing because I love spinning so much still to this day. And so I met some amazing, amazing people. But then I built an app, a proof of concept for an app, and then I went on a CNBC show for it while on the island. And then, literally within a couple months later, my show sold. It had already been optioned to Jerry Bruckheimer while I was on the island. And then it sold in a 4-way bidding war to CBS. It was in a bidding war between ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. And I'm super happy to report finally after almost 5 years of being in various stages of development, we're a couple months away from production. So it's coming to life. It's exciting, and I just can't wait to show everybody. But the Keys were so important to me, and I hold Islamorada very, very near and dearly in my heart. And I'm just so grateful for those 2.5 years because I was able to really kind of discover who I was outside of Hollywood, outside of, LA and just this noise that operates here. I was able to really figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. And I just got really lucky in the process. Wow.
That's I wanted to ask you, well, that's a lot of questions in there. You started you came up with the idea of while you were on OkCupid or prior to that? You're looking for someone to talk nerdy to you, love,
yeah.
Right? And
well, I was November 3rd, 2009. So it's been around for a while now, and so I was at a tech conference, and I'm a student in tech. I started typing when I was 2. I had my first computer company when I was 8. And so I was working in indirect cellular activations, which no one knows what that means. But I was working for Verizon Master Agent, and basically just got these accounts to sell more Verizon over everybody else. And so I was going to a series of these tech conferences in 2006 to 2008. And then I went to this one in 2009, and I saw that there were actually attractive people there. And there were women for the first time. And I was like, wait, this is a social, it wasn't even called social media at that point. It was called Web 2.0. Mm-hmm. And it was the precursor to the term that we all know, social media. And so so I just looked around and I was like, oh my God, I was like, nerds are going to be hot. This is a thing. I have waited my whole life for this moment. And so I knew how to obviously secure a handle and know how to build sites. So I just built it. And I used it actually as a way to timestamp my ideas because I'm really good at predicting trends. And so I can just kind of see where things are going before they get there. And so I was like, great, I'm a daughter of a lawyer. So I was like, okay, great, why not just at least timestamp my ideas, write them out. I didn't mean to do any of the stuff that I did, but I just kind of gave myself this permission slip because I was like, even with crashing the Grammys, like, okay, I can do this, but my worst case scenario is I'm going to know how to not crash the Grammys, and I could potentially be arrested, get charged with trespassing, sit in some holding cell for like 24 hours, and I can tell that story. I didn't view anything I did as having any sort of good or bad because I knew I was going to be really honest with what I was experiencing. And I think that's what, especially now more than ever, that's what I feel like was missing from people is because they just, want to maybe explore certain things but don't want to crash the Grammys, but they'd love to hear someone's honest take on what actually occurred. And so whether it was dating, an adventure, or, even work-related stuff, I've just always been brutally honest. And I think that's what kind of made a difference in kind of my own little space within the internet. So it worked.
Well,
but it was a lot of hard work in between.
The backpedal. When you got on OkCupid, was that the nascent beginnings of it? Was it around for a while?
Yeah, so I had started bartering. OkCupid, I don't remember exactly when they came out, but I was on Match for free weekends when I was like 19. So I finished high school really early, and so I couldn't get into, and I never went to college, so I couldn't get into bars. Mm-hmm. So like Match.com, free weekends, and AOL chat rooms were how you met people. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. But when OkCupid came out, I was actually couch surfing. And this gal kept mentioning to me, she's like, all you do is I just see you sitting here working. She's like, why don't you actually go and start, create a dating app, create a dating profile on OkCupid. So we, busted out a bottle of wine and I wrote it exactly how I wanted to write it. It was very tongue-in-cheek. And then once I got the responses, I was like, well, this is kind of cool because I was like, I'm a life caster, so if you buy me a beer, I'll give you a hug. I didn't want to go out for dinner with people because there was a gal that was on Match.com who used it to like get $30,000 worth of dinner from guys. Mm-hmm. And so I had to be really clear because I was bartering. So I had to be very, very clear with everyone that like I'm not dating and bartering. Like there was no crossover in between. I was bartering, and then while I was out and about, I would go out on these dates. So I had a compatibility prerequisite that I never published. But if I was into a guy or girl for that matter, and we were 85% or more compatible, then I would go out on a date with them. And it was awesome. I learned so much about myself, and I've met a wonderful modern day shaman who actually I'm going to a podcast comedy show with tonight. Who helped me with like Reiki, and my synopsis of the whole thing was that I was emotionally unavailable and I was kind of a douchebag myself, so he helped me work through those intimacy blocks and barriers, which is how I ended up on the island.
So tell us about the island then.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, you want to talk about feeling like a fish out of water. So I went down there with this gentleman, and he's very private, so I very much respect that about him as well. But he's someone who is independently out of state where he doesn't necessarily need to work, and so it was wild to go from being this massive workaholic to kind of like almost like a housewife without the title. So it was like I would go to spin classes in the morning, drive my little BMW, and it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't really me, and I was trying to figure out how to kind of marry the two of my old life with my new life, and I just didn't know how to make that work. So then I just took space from that because I was like, okay, well, let me focus on my relationship. And he's amazing. He's still to this day one of my best friends, but we were far better as being friends than we were in a relationship. And so yeah, but then I just, like I said, just got an amazing group of friends. I love volunteering at the churches down there. That was my favorite. Those are my favorite days of the week. And, and just kind of getting to know people. I mean, I'm lucky I can work from anywhere. So, getting a job wasn't difficult at all, but it was a real fish out of water story. And here you are, and I'm learning how to jump off roofs into a canal. I'm learning, we're climbing up the alligator, big alligator reef.
How to jump off roofs into a canal. That's kind of like...
Yeah, that's what we did.
Is that kind of like, I don't mean to be, but that sounds like jackass behavior from the show Jackass.
No, but it wasn't. It was just kind of, it was just really, it was very liberating, I guess is the best way to say it.
Hey,
so my friend had access to the top
stuff.
of this roof.
I've done that stuff.
Yeah. And so that's my point.
It wasn't something I look back on like, as a, it was one of the things I learned not to do later on.
But I think that's what's great is like having that like awareness of like, I'm not doing this for Instagram. I'm not doing this for a post. I'm doing something just so totally different. And I was terrified of the water at first because of sharks. And then you realize like barracudas are way scarier than sharks. So that's no big deal. And you know, just all these stories that I told myself that I really got to end up living down there. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah. You know, the great thing I found out about, well, at least we were talking about technology and all those things. The people that that do interact with me for podcasting mainly, they're already somewhat tech savvy. And some of them, most of them would understand some of the references you made, like ghosting. I did a show about all those things, all this new social media terms out there because no one knows it. I mean, gaslighting was a thing about 5 years ago, where people. I mean, gaslighting actually was from the 50s. If you think of gaslighting,
you're right.
Yeah, but no one ever thought of turning it into a verb,
a dating term. Yeah, it is. It's interesting, but it's one of these things where, you know, whether it's through a podcast, whether it's through a blog, whether it's through an Instagram feed or Twitter or anything like that, like people, you know, you're building stuff up. You know, maybe some people do it to express themselves as well, but there is, you know, in the majority of people, this idea of an end goal. And I think that's what's so cool about at least my story is like, I did work so hard. I got everything that I wanted and realized I didn't want it and then didn't know what to do because what goals are you working towards? So then I had this amazing opportunity to redefine what that meant. And so yeah, it's like I said, I'm really grateful. But yeah, ghosting and gaslighting and all that, if someone's, you know, been married for a while and just recently got divorced, they must be very confused with how people speak nowadays because it's a totally different language to learn. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I came of an age. I relate to you closely. I was president of the National Honor Society when I was in high school, and then in college, I kind of, when you move to a different place, you can actually play a different role.
Yeah.
You know, like you can always, like you move to LA and you come to the Keys, you're whoever you decide to be. You throw in a pair of glasses, you speak a little more, you're erudite about the things you say, then you come off as more intelligent, or you can come, you know, depending, you know, you can get more base or down to street level, and depending on where you are, you can, and how comfortable you are saying those things, that you can be those things. And that's what happened. Like I was married and I came to the Keys, and I've never felt, I started when I wasn't really into the social media when I was married, luckily, because that would have been an infidelity problem. But once I got separated and things like that, I kept on looking at it. But I was bartending, so I guess I was interacting. If I was still in the city, I think I would probably go with. I would have felt somewhat comfortable using those tools that they have available. But when someone's an 85% match, right? Do you find some people are, you know, answering a survey, some people answer the questions they want, the way they want it to be, or the way they want to be portrayed. I know they give you long, and psychologically, the people that come up with these tests, they try to make it so some of the questions counteract if you don't pay attention to it, you know, just the wording of it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what OkCupid did. So I happened to meet the guys who created the algorithm randomly. We were both in the same co-working space. I couldn't write that if I tried. And so I got to actually ask them a lot of these questions. So, yeah, they definitely did some of that. But I think going back to your point earlier of, like, kind of, you know, island life in terms of social media and dating, it is 1,000% different. It's, you know, even when I was down in Isla Mirada, you know, I went from dating all these people and going wherever. And like I remember just sitting at Mark 88 and being like talking to my girlfriend, because if I talked to too many guys and I was too new in town and people didn't know me, then I would have, at least from my perspective, been ostracized. Whether that's true or not or something I made up is one thing. But it's like I was very intentional that, once I, my first boyfriend and I broke up, I was like, okay, I have to figure this out for myself. So I was lucky that I had a core group of girlfriends, but I just built out those relationships and didn't really talk to a lot of guys because I didn't know enough about who was dating whom, or, I let this person buy me this drink. Like, it really was a huge shift for me. And that's kind of what was the best part about it, was it taught me to focus on relationships in a different way, because, I was on Tinder down there and it was the same people over and over. So I was just like, okay, or it'd be, people that came down from Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and I'm like, these aren't the people I really want to date. So it was very interesting dating down there. It was a lot more through like mutual friends and things of that nature than typically apps. And I don't know if that's still the case. This was 5 years ago, but that's at least what I found. I don't think I went on a single date on an app. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is a smaller. If it was a library, it would be a high school library. It wouldn't be the Metropolitan Library in New York, but
for sure,
the New York Public Library. Or it's just there's only so many titles available down here.
Absolutely, but the quality is amazing. The people down there, like, that's what I loved about it so much. Is people were so passionate about their community, and they took action. I remember when that chef from Ziggy's passed away. Within like 24 hours, they had something like $250,000 raised. I mean, it was something outrageous. Where you're just like, my goodness, and it was obviously such a shock to the family. But then you'd see all the people coming over with like casseroles and food and like, what can we do? Like things like that you don't see in larger towns. So it's like just the quality of people is definitely, and it's different to whatever degree, but I found it to be really remarkable, the pride that everyone took in where they lived and taking care of the community.
I agree. I'm from Philadelphia originally, and I'm proud of the high school that we have down here. When the seniors graduate, anybody who wants to go to college down here and has the ability to go to college, meaning the capability to go to college intellectually,
yeah,
will get help here, and they give out tons of money to these graduating seniors. So those in need are taken care of down here, and we are community-minded down here. Another thing I did notice when you're down here, you did present yourself very, I guess, professionally, and you were very affable and friendly without being that there's a median when someone's talking. And obviously it's a different dynamic when you're talking, when I'm talking to a younger woman, I put on a different persona than I'm talking to a woman my own age, So
it was different because down there, like, I didn't necessarily I didn't have anything to hide. I created a separate Facebook page. I just wanted to figure out who I was and not sort of be judged for my blog and how honest I am or was. So you see what I'm saying? So it was like I specifically called myself Jennifer to most people when I first met them, because that was like a way to dissociate within a certain group, but also my pride, because that's also my name. So like it wasn't that I had anything to hide. It was that I was trying to figure out more of who I was, independent of anybody else's thoughts or beliefs or judgments.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
It does.
It was the most effective way that I could do it. And so, but I wasn't hiding anything. I had, certain friends on my, Facebook page down there, and I have people on Cross in between. Like, again, there's no shame, but it was just, I needed a minute to figure out what was mine and then what I could give to everybody else. And I hadn't experienced that before because I was so giving on the blog and giving with my time. And so I just didn't know what that looked like. So I had to figure it out for myself. No one can teach you that part.
So when you're in the Keys, right? Someone runs into you and they say, "Wow!" You give them your CV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's impressive. It's very impressive to me, and it's impressive, I guess, wherever. But does it feel different when you go out to the LA? I mean, because there's so many. That's where everyone's doing their thing, that thing.
I would have stayed. I would have stayed in the Keys had it not been for Bruckheimer's show selling. I would still be down in the Keys. I actually had another apartment that I was going to rent. That there's this really cool tree house above the lobster trap. It's literally a tree house, and it's the coolest apartment ever. I wanted to rent it.
I put a description of the show in that it says I self-quarantined to a tree house.
Yeah, there you go. Well, here's your loop. Yeah, there's your loop. Because there's literally it's a tree house. It's one of the coolest apartments I've ever seen. And so I had that, like I had a deposit in, and then when Bruckheimer show sold, I had no involvement in it, and so I was like, wait, this is based on my life. Like everything's defined before something goes out. So it was like 2 years of negotiations, just of like line items with attorneys. And so I only came back to LA because I wanted to be a part of my own show. And so thankfully I was able to now do that, and now I'm running it. But like I couldn't have done that from the Keys. But if it happened any other way, I wouldn't have left. I would have stayed down there because the relationships that I had were that important to me.
Yeah, I imagine there's some things you can't do. There's teleconferencing nowadays.
Yeah, it's just not the same because everyone down there wants to see you. And then I love telling people that like in my little station wagon, I always had a cooler, red Solo cups, a bathing suit, and snorkeling gear because at any given time I didn't know if I was going to jump in someone's boat and go somewhere, or like you always need red Solo cups. It was just such a different life experience than I was used to being a city kid, and so I really, like I said, I miss it a lot.
Oh, you know what, Jen? That sounds like that would be a really interesting way where you can judge someone by looking about what's the things that people make sure they have in their in the back of their car. So if some guy had some rope, masking tape, and ether, I would really be I would be leery of his intentions. But someone a red Solo cup, a bathing suit, and a snorkel, and a cooler, it sounds like you're out to have a good time. And
that was the best part, is just getting calls from your friends being like, hey, I'm passing by in the boat, want to jump in? And you never know, you could have been at Founders Park or wherever you were. And so that made the spontaneity of all of it, and the again, love of community and things of that nature you can't get that everywhere. I mean, I'm lucky I created that for myself here in Los Angeles in the community that I live in, but I had to like cultivate that. I would sit down there every Tuesday with a box of wine and games and make people play games with me, because it only took 2 weeks actually, but after that long, I finally made friends with everyone, either through giving them wine or talking or whatever, and that's how I made friends. But
what kind of games?
Well, we do a lot. One of the games that's my favorite is called Worst Case Scenario. It's really random. I don't even know if they still make it, but it like teaches you skills on like if you get attacked by a shark or if you get attacked by an alligator, like what do you do, or how to survive malaria. It's like really weird stuff that if you play with the right group of people, it can get very competitive. So we create. Are
you there?
Answer and not anything else. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was one. Oh God, it's in my cabinet. But I got the headphones on, and I would just there's tons of games out there that spur kind of, what was the other one, the one where they have the clay and the drawing and the Cranium.
Yeah.
And, yeah. There's some of them. I mean, when I'm doing a sober bit right now, so I'm not partaking of anything. When I was younger, and there was one I played when I was high. It was called It was just called. It was trading like wheat.
Settlers of Catan.
No. It was like wheat, barley, corn, and it had a bell, and you'd have 6 cards.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you'd pass and you try to trade with everyone. You had them all going. It was hilarious.
Is that Risk? I haven't played Risk, but is that Risk?
I don't know
about the bell.
Risk is the little plastic pieces. Risk can.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Alexa's going crazy. Why is she playing cat sounds? Alexa, stop.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I just had a thing. I don't know what happened. It must have sounded like Alexa play Cats. But then it started playing Cats.
Technology.
It just, yeah, there it goes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. But I digress. So you're in LA right now, and you're planning your show. It's going to be it's coming out?
Yes, I'm so excited. We're shooting the pilot. I can't say where it ended up yet or anything like that, but it was really cool. I just met with my first celebrity actress, and I've never interviewed someone for your own life story, which was very awesome and strange. And she was so cool. She loved it, so she signed on. So I know we didn't need one, but all you really need is one to get the rest of the cast, because she's super awesome and talented, and so she was our number one choice. I'm just so glad we got her, and it's going to be a really cool process. It's going to be super cathartic. I can already tell. So I didn't write the pilot script, because you can't write your own life story and be objective. And that was my number one focus, was to be as brutally honest with this script as I could ever be with myself. I didn't just want the good stuff. I wanted the reality of it, because I thought that would make it super relatable. And so I'm excited. It's very edgy. It's very true to the blog. And so the first iteration was very kind of PG. And so this is definitely rated R. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you know with this show, there's no, we put explicit, not that I'm filthy or anything like that, but I don't want to have to worry about if anybody wants to. We're just, if it serves a purpose, it serves a purpose. And I don't
totally.
So it's explicit.
Yeah.
So I don't
great.
go, it's not something we get, it depends on the topics that are coming around. So, off topic, since we got it. So you sat in with the interview, with the initial interview with the actress. Was it like that? Seinfeld bit when Jerry and George are sitting there.
Kind of, and it was amazing actually, because I'm directing the pilot, which I can't even believe I'm saying. But at first I was like, well, maybe I co-direct it and bring someone else in, and once we started talking with everybody, they were like, no, I have too specific of a vision for how it should be. And I happen to know a bunch of, very successful directors that are going to help me. So it's going to be amazing. But and I'm so lucky to have that support system here. But anyway, it was really wild, because she just walks in and, she had just done this Steven Soderbergh project that I've been watching, and she's just very edgy and very interesting. And she's just this very petite girl, and she goes from sort of being the bad girl, so to speak, to kind of being more of a good girl. She laughs because she's this drop-dead gorgeous model. And so we sit down at 10 a.m. at this little bakery just a couple weeks ago, and she orders a large hot chocolate and gluten-free bread with this spread. And I'm watching this tiny, gorgeous human being with these little tiny hands hold this super large hot chocolate, and I'm just like, where is all of this going? But it was wild, because the relationship between the actors and the director is everything. So for the two main leads and myself, we have to be simpatico, because I have to learn how to get them to go for the emotion that is required for the scene. So, and then try things a bunch of different ways. So I have to be inside their brain as much as possible. So now it's great with, social media and with YouTube, and especially because these are, famous people I'm dealing with. So you just do a bunch of your own preliminary research, and then I throw all that out, and then basically just get there, and you have it's a ton of pre-production work. So I have to outline line items of what each character is going through in each specific scene. You storyboard it out, so I know exactly the shots are that I want, and so so it's really cool. But I can finally say that I did it, and and hopefully it does well, and things like that. But if not, I can at least say I did it, and then figure out what my next project is.
Wow, that sounds great. Wow.
Yeah, right? But it's so cool. I just can't wait.
It was a long process, wasn't it?
Very, very. Well, the first, it's called optioning a project. So Talk Nerdy to Me got option, and the website's called Talk Nerdy to Me Lover, if you guys want to check it out. But it's Talk Nerdy to Me got option in 2010 originally by Mary Parent. I sold an iteration of the IP to MTV for a show. I sold another show to History Channel. Neither of these made air. So it's one thing to sell a show. It's another for it to actually make air and go into production. Then I had a put pilot at CBS, which is a pilot with a penalty. and it was with Les Moonves, and Les doesn't pay out the penalties, which is amazing because then I would have lost rights to my own life story and my own script. And so thankfully, because he didn't do that, I was able to repackage it, cold call Bruckheimer, which wasn't a cold call, and now we're going into production. So it's been great. It's been quite the journey, but I am very persistent and I don't give up on things I believe in and see. So it's a compulsion, actually. I can't.
So if someone options your story, or they could do with a penalty, meaning if they buy it and decide not to shoot it, you'd have to pay a penalty in order to go someplace else, right? Is that,
yes.
Did I hear that correctly?
So basically a put pilot with a penalty, it only happens, it's what they call in Hollywood like a holy grail situation. Again, all of this is for network TV. I don't know if it's the same now with streaming, but that's how quickly things changed in the last 5 years. So I had a deal with the traditional networks. So NBC placed the first offer on it, then ABC, then Fox, and then CBS. And so CBS really wanted it. And I'm actually friends with the guy who made the offer at Fox, and he told me outright, he's like, you just got too expensive. So the condition of CBS taking it was not only that they pay the premium price, but that should it not go into production, meaning because they haven't read the script yet. The initial concept sold on Jerry Bruckheimer's name, the fact that it was his first TV pilot, and the writer Morgan Murphy, and like a couple of lines. Like they didn't even have a script, so they had to develop this out. And between the time it sold in August and then in January, they had 4 different iterations of it. But I wasn't involved in any of those. But bottom line was with CBS, they were able to say, like, okay, here's the premium, but, oh, yeah, by the way, if it doesn't make air, you still have to pay everybody. So I have no idea, like, what happened with everybody else. I was the lowest man on the totem pole, which is fine because I learned a lot from it. But that's how it works. And so if I had gotten that, if they had just paid me that check, like, this script would be shelved. Like, I would not have rights to my own IP. I would not have rights. They got my life rights, trademarks, and intellectual property. So when I wanted to redevelop it took 19 months, but I had 2 separate attorneys look at it and basically explain to me, like, oh, yeah, you got everything back because they were supposed to pay and they didn't pay, and so you're good. But had I gotten that, yeah, and it's enough to buy a car. It wasn't a big check. But, any amount of money like that is a solid amount of money. But now I'm in complete control, which is amazing. And, I'm doing what I know to be right for the script and to be right for the audience because it's the most popular series of posts that I've written. And that's what it's based on, that particular item of my life.
Well, that's exciting.
Ray, I'm so excited.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question since you're on the West Coast. Have you changed your regular social patterns? And it's not a big deal. I made a joke at the beginning before you came on that I work for the hospital, so I do wash my hands regularly. I'm careful how I interact with people and things like that. Have you changed things? Like, are you carrying around sanitizer with you and wipes all the time? Are you wearing a mask? Have you seen any changes? Have you done anything different?
Yeah, in LA for sure, there's people that wear masks. I mean, I still take public transportation. I do the 20-second washing of the hands, which I was doing anyway. We have certain wipes at the house for the coronavirus in here. But I mean, I think, if any time that you give in to fear, like you've already lost, you know what I mean? I think you absolutely need to take certain precautions, like you're saying, whether that means traveling with hand sanitizer or that means, not going to certain crowded things. Whatever that means to you, you need to do it. But I just don't buy into this hype fear-based mentality of the world is going to end. No, we might have to be quarantined for at 2 weeks to maybe a month. But I work from home. So, my job isn't affected by it. And so kind of everything that I'm doing from my perspective isn't. But, I just also I don't feed into fear. I look at things logically and what would I be buying anyway that, we can stock up on. So we have that taken care of. And then, the rest of it will be what it'll be. So you make sure you have lots of books in your Kindle and TV and all that. So, and if that's the wave that we have to ride, then that's what's going to happen. So
2 weeks, they say. Well, 2 weeks. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, they said 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah. Oh, well. That could happen. Well, I expect the way I view it is something they really aren't going to, unless they, from people, certain industries, they're not going to go and test themselves because if they can't replace their income, if they're working, let's say in the service industry or any, minimum wage employee and stuff like that, they're not going to go out of their way to test themselves because they don't want to be quarantined because they won't be paid,
Yeah, I know. It's very unfortunate.
It sounds harsh, but that's just the realities where it comes to that. And the people where it's most likely going to spread from to other people is in the ones where people have the most contact with the most amount of people, and that's the lower, that's that lower.
Well, they were also saying too. Yeah, they were also saying too today that Italy is basically suspending all mortgage payments just because people can't work. So I'm hopeful. Maybe that's naive of me to think, but I'm hopeful that adjustments will be made, especially down in the Keys. I mean, if you work in service, that's hand to mouth. I mean, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, well,
that really
would
needs
help
it.
people that are owning homes, but it's you can't force a suspension of rent payments, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, unless maybe that's part of the caveat that, hey, landlord, you don't have to pay this, but and maybe this is all wishful thinking, but I think it's definitely an interesting time, and my heart's out to everybody down there because I know again it's very much you're at the service of tourists, so you have to, and then what stinks too is tourism in general is down. So, because people aren't flying, so then no matter what, you're affected.
They got it coming both ways here. They got the airport in Miami, and they got the cruise ships in Key West, and then the people heading down in their cars and things like that. I imagine that the lady that's cleaning the hotel rooms is she's going to show up until she's coughing up a lung.
Show up and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. So that's just what. But that's neither here nor there, and people are going to get to. In the end, they just want to get a handle on it. We don't have the. I don't think we have the resources to deal with things if they really get bad. But I don't think they're going to get anywhere near as like the Spanish influenza of 1918. Yeah. But that's there. But not to be a downer and stuff like that. And one of the things noticed, and the Onion, I thought it was something I posted on the Onion. Someone posted on the Onion about don't make sure you suck on the brass door on the doorknobs, right? And that was the Onion. But then someone posted, and it was a serial called "Licking Public Service." Licking in public places or public, and I said, well, who the hell does that? How is that a thing? And I don't even think they said it in jest, and it was very strange where it came up. I said, well, I thought, I started laughing, and I'm reading a little closer, and I said, well, everything else in this article is serious. Why would that be in there? And I just, that's the hysteria part of it. That when has that ever been a thing? Where I guess. And I run into here, I as a bartender, if someone asks for a cup with a napkin, and I go, why do you want that? I dip, and I go, you do not do that in here. This is a restaurant. You can go outside. That's one of the things, people don't want to see you spitting into a cup.
They dip, meaning chewing tobacco. I didn't even know what you meant for a second.
Dip.
Okay,
yeah, it's just,
got it.
It's funny. Dip. It's just like that ghosting and saying, and things like that. There's some dip. It's just one of those things, and you see the people giving their the press conferences, and they say make sure you don't touch your faces, and then when they turn the page, they lick their finger and turn the page. You know? So, but I think that's going to pass. So, but this is I didn't want it to be. I talked about that in the beginning of the show, and I don't want to mention it into good because I wanted to get most of it out about you. So.
Thanks.
You did mention that you really can't say when it is going to air, right? I don't want to.
No, I can't say that yet. Yeah, because we're also in pre-production right now. Like the coronavirus would affect us going into production. So there's a lot of variables, but I'm excited to say it'll definitely happen before the end of the year, which is the most confident I've been able to say that ever. So, and it's a minimal shoot, so it won't take us very long. And then, however long post is. So I'm very excited. It'll be ready to go very soon. I can't, but I'm going to do. We're doing a social media movement behind it. So I'm happy to talk about it when I can. It was something that I didn't know was a thing until I discovered it being a thing, and then I was like, well, this is wrong, and it kind of plays into the project like flawlessly. And so when I told the idea to the first lead actress, she was like, I'm totally game. So I'm really excited, and when I can talk about that, I'm happy to let you know.
I'm completely comfortable. I want to see what. Can you say what the title's going to be?
Yeah, the title's called Talk Nerdy to Me. So,
okay,
and
so
you
it's
can
going
even
to
see
be
that
Talk
there's like
Nerdy
deadline
to Me.
reported.
Okay.
Yeah, Talk Nerdy to Me. And the premise of it is a nerd who, her mind thinks in very binary ways, meaning like ones and zeros. And so she actually explores the world of S&M and foot domination. So I used to own 8-foot slaves. And so that's the premise of the show, is kind of exploring this world from, again, that binary perspective, but it's like the sort of submission and control that she takes and the dynamic between her and the dom. And then she also works at a tech startup. So it's like, how when she starts to explore that world, how that bleeds into her relationship with her family and her relationship with work. And so I'm really excited. There hasn't been a lot spoken about this space, and I'm really proud that all of it's very honest.
Oh wow, that closely follows the Elizabeth Warren story, doesn't it? There. No, I'm just kidding. She's a sweetheart. I just saw her on Saturday Night Live. I thought that would.
I thought that was great.
Okay, well, I like that. So, you're in a state that's safe. There's no doubt where that's going to go. But I'm in the purple right here, and some of the listeners get angry at it, but that's the way it is. It's my show, so
good for you.
You don't like it, that's it. Jen, I'd like to thank you for the impromptu showing up. I do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and great to talk about the Keys. Like I said, I miss it terribly.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, can I use your picture from social media on the cover of this
Please.
episode?
Yeah, and it's just Talk Nerdy to Me Lover is my Instagram handle, and then Talk Nerdy to Me Lover is the blog, and then I'm just Jen Friel across pretty much everything else.
Okay.
So Twitter, all that fun stuff.
Oh, great. Well, then we'll push that then for my
great.
Because
thanks so much.
Literally listen to tens and tens of people. No, we get hundreds and hundreds. We're moving into the thousands per month, so that's good.
That's great. Well, wonderful. Well, wishing you continued success, and say hi to your lovely bride for me, and hope everything else is well.
I will. She'll be so happy that I spoke to you. She loves you.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon, Jim. Thank you.
Best wishes. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, Jim the Keys bartender. That was Jen Friel. We're going to, I hope that didn't bore you guys, but I don't mean that conversation about the part where I was struggling to get the sound back, but we are, I don't think I insulted her, because otherwise we would have heard this.
You're an asshole!
Yeah, no, that didn't happen. So we'll be back. There'll be additional episodes. I want to release this. I didn't know if there was going to be a gap this week. Take care. God bless. And don't lick any public surfaces out there. Bye.